Welcome back, everyone, to Baha'i On Air.
I'm Mark.
And I'm Jane.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be back with you.
We're jumping right back into our deep dives into the Baha'i writings today.
We are. And this time we're focusing on a really fascinating piece of correspondence.
That's right. It's a letter from Abdu'l-Bahá addressed to Dr. Auguste Forel.
Now, Dr. Forel, he was quite a figure, wasn't he? A well-respected scientist, a thinker, really a lover of truth.
Definitely. And this letter wasn't just out of the blue. Abdu'l-Bahá was responding directly to a letter Dr. Forel had sent him.
Which makes the exchange even more compelling, I think.
Absolutely. So our goal here, our sort of mission for this deep dive, is to really unpack the insights in this letter. We want to look at it from a Baha'i perspective, naturally, see how it links up with broader Baha'i principles.
And maybe most importantly, think about what it means for us, for you listening, in our lives today, and how these ideas might even help shape society.
Exactly. And there's a lot in this letter. I mean, it covers so much ground.
It really does. From the nature of the soul and the mind, all the way to the existence of God, social principles. It's packed. Get ready for some potential aha moments, I'd say.
Okay, let's start at the beginning then. The opening is quite striking in its tone.
It really is. Abdu'l-Bahá begins with these warm words for Dr. Forel. He praises his youthfulness in seeking truth, despite his age.
Yeah, and the strength of his thought, the impact of his discoveries, it just sets this wonderful, respectful tone right away.
It does. It shows a real appreciation for intellectual pursuit. And interestingly, Abdu'l-Bahá mentions he's written on similar themes before.
Right. He references a letter to a Dr. Fisher from 1910 and other letters from before the war.
It shows these weren't just fleeting ideas, but part of a consistent line of thought he was exploring.
He even talks about a discourse given at the San Francisco University.
Yes, and how it was well received by philosophers there. He actually enclosed a copy of that paper with the letter to Dr. Forel.
Which we don't have, unfortunately, but it underlines that spirit of sharing knowledge, doesn't it?
Definitely. And it connects to that Baha'i idea of engaging in meaningful dialogue, contributing to the thought of the age.
And asking for copies of Dr. Forel's work, too, that shows a genuine two-way street of learning.
Exactly. Mutual respect and learning. A great model for us.
Okay, so moving on, the letter tackles the term materialists. This feels like a key point to clarify.
It really is crucial for understanding his arguments. He's quite specific here.
He's not talking about, say, all scientists or all philosophers, is he?
No, not at all. He clarifies it's about a specific group, those he describes as having a rather narrow vision.
People who basically only trust what their five senses tell them.
Precisely. Their reality, their criterion for knowledge, is limited to sensory perception. Anything beyond that is questionable to them.
So naturally, the existence of God, something you can't see or touch, becomes doubtful from that perspective.
Right. And this makes you think, doesn't it? Are our senses the only way to know things? What are we missing if that's our only measure?
But he's careful not to paint everyone with the same brush. He explicitly mentions holding philosophers like Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, these great thinkers in high esteem.
Yes, the deistic philosophers, as he calls them. And he even gives credit to accomplished, moderate, materialistic philosophers who've contributed positively to humanity.
So it's a nuanced view. It distinguishes that narrow, sense-bound materialism from broader philosophical inquiry that values reason and has benefited humankind.
It really highlights that Baha'i focus on knowledge and wisdom as the bedrock of progress, praising philosophers with broad vision.
And again, encouraging Forel to read that San Francisco paper, it reinforces that value placed on careful thought and open inquiry.
Okay, so from there, the letter shifts to the nature of our mental faculties and the soul itself. This is where it gets really deep, I think.
It does. He explains that things like thinking, imagining, understanding, these are inherent properties of the soul.
And he uses that beautiful analogy, the sun and its rays.
Ah, yes. Tell us about that.
Well, the soul is like the sun, constant, the source. The mind, our mental faculties, are like the rays emanating from it.
So the rays, the mind can fluctuate, get stronger, weaker, maybe even seem to disappear temporarily.
Exactly. But the sun, the soul, remains constant. That's the core distinction. The essence is the soul. The mind is its expression.
That really helps clarify it. And he notes that the mind needs a healthy body to manifest properly.
But the soul itself isn't dependent on the body in the same way. It has its own independent reality.
So the soul is the power source, in a way. It empowers the mind to comprehend and imagine.
That's the idea. The soul is this free power, while the mind uses the body and senses as its tools.
And there's a difference in scope, too, right? The mind often needs concrete things, examples, to grasp abstract ideas.
Whereas the soul's potential, its manifestations, are described as limitless. The mind is circumscribed. The soul is boundless.
Which points to the limits of just relying on our senses again. The mind needs them, but the soul operates beyond them.
It's a different level of reality.
I find the point about sleep fascinating. The idea that the soul is still active, maybe even solving problems while we're unconscious.
It suggests a continuous existence and activity of the soul that goes far beyond our conscious mental processes. What else is happening at that level?
Yeah, makes you wonder. And he contrasts this with the mind being inactive when the senses shut down, or in early infancy before reason develops.
Yet the soul, he argues, is always there in its full strength. It really builds a case for the soul's distinct and enduring nature.
And he wraps that part up by saying there are numerous proofs for the soul's continuity, even if reason fails, and that spirit exists in different grades or stations.
A whole spiritual ecology, you might say.
So then he broadens the picture, looking at spirit in the mineral, vegetable, and animal kingdoms.
Right, it's not just about humans. He suggests even minerals have a kind of spirit or life appropriate to their level. He mentions this was an unknown secret, now recognized, and quotes the Quran, all things are living.
So there's this continuum. In plants, the spirit is the power of growth.
Yes, that vegetative spirit. And in animals, it's the spirit characterized by the power of sense perception, of feeling.
But then comes humanity. And here there's something more, an all-embracing power.
Exactly. We have the powers of the lower kingdom's growth. Feeling, but added to that is the power of reason, alongside the soul itself. This power of reason is unique to the human station.
And it's this reasoning power that allows us to understand the soul's existence, whereas an animal, relying only on feeling, cannot grasp that concept.
Precisely. Our minds can provide proofs for what our senses alone can't perceive directly, including the soul. It gives humanity a unique capacity for spiritual understanding.
Which then leads to the idea that this reasoning mind can point towards something even greater, an unseen reality.
Yes, a reality that encompasses everything, reveals itself in all stages of existence, but whose actual essence is beyond our full comprehension.
And he uses that analogy again, lower kingdoms not understanding the higher ones.
Right. Just as a plant can't grasp animal consciousness or an animal-human consciousness, we can't fully grasp the divine essence. It's about recognizing the limits of our own stage of existence.
Puts things in perspective, doesn't it? Humbling, in a way.
Very much so. And then the focus shifts to what makes humanity distinct from nature, our ability to transcend its laws.
This is a really powerful section. Animals are subject to nature's rules.
But humans possess this discovering power.
Yeah.
We don't just live within nature's laws. We can understand them, harness them, even seemingly defy them.
The examples are so good. Flying, sailing against the wind, exploring the deep sea. Things physically impossible for us without ingenuity.
Harnessing electricity, uncovering secrets hidden within matter, using reason to understand the past and predict the future.
Connecting distant places instantly, capturing images, photography, all things that manipulate or go beyond natural limitations.
He sums it up beautifully. All science, art, discovery, these were secrets within nature that human power has unlocked and brought out.
Yeah. It's this inner faculty that wrests power from nature, a capacity other beings lack. It highlights our agency.
And our will. Our understanding. Nature operates by necessity, without conscious will or understanding in the human sense. We are free. Nature is constrained. We understand. Nature simply is.
Which brings up that philosophical point. Are human powers just nature expressing itself?
But he counters that logically. How can the part, humanity, possess perfections like will and understanding if the whole nature lacks them fundamentally?
Good point. So how does he define nature then?
As the inherent properties and necessary relationships that arise from the reality of things, it's all interconnected.
And because it's all so diverse yet interconnected, there must be some unifying force holding it together.
Exactly, an all-unifying agency. He uses the analogy of the human body. Again, the soul or mind unites all the different parts, allowing them to function harmoniously, even though the body itself isn't conscious of that unifying soul.
Like the universe needs a coordinating principle, even if we can't directly perceive it.
Right. Then he touches on philosophy, mentioning Socrates' belief in God and the soul's immortality, and how he was persecuted for it.
Connecting these ideas to a long tradition of thought, and the observation by divine philosophers that the universe seems to culminate in humanity.
Which leads to that profound question. Is all this complexity, this whole universe, just leading to a brief, often difficult human life with no ultimate purpose?
He finds that idea, well, meaningless, really.
He asserts there must be another life,
Mm-hmm.
and uses that analogy again. The vegetable kingdom can't comprehend the human world, so maybe we can't comprehend the great life hereafter right now.
Our inability to grasp it doesn't mean it doesn't exist, like the mineral can't grasp us.
Exactly. He says there are numerous proofs suggesting this infinite creation doesn't just stop with us.
Okay, so turning towards the divine essence itself.
He states clearly, it's incomprehensible. It cannot be defined or understood by anything outside itself.
Because our minds, our concepts are all limited, contingent, we're finite trying to grasp the infinite. It's impossible.
The higher comprehends the lower, not the other way around. So we can't grasp the ultimate essence of God.
But that doesn't mean we can't believe, right?
Not at all. We can still believe. We can discover God's grace through reason, observation, intuition, faith. The effects of that reality are knowable.
Even if the essence is unseen, the spiritual proofs, the manifestations of grace are evident. Like knowing ether exists from its effects, heat, light.
Precisely. Divine grace assures us of God's existence, even if the essence is beyond us.
He then talks about how things come together and break apart composition and decomposition.
And argues that the infinite variety of beings we see, the effect, points to an infinite cause.
And this formation, it's not accidental or compulsory.
He rules those out. Accidental contradicts cause and effect. Compulsory or necessary formation wouldn't allow for decomposition, as inherent properties can't just be forced apart permanently.
So the conclusion is that formation is voluntary, driven by an intentional, unseen, ancient power.
Yes, a power that consciously brings elements together to form specific beings. It implies will and purpose behind creation.
And the attributes we give God, like all-knowing, all-powerful,
those are reflections of what we observe in creation. We see knowledge, so we infer an all-knowing source. We see power, so we infer an all-powerful source. It's our way of understanding, negating imperfection of the divine.
But the true nature of those attributes in God's essence remains beyond us.
Exactly. They are signposts for our limited understanding, not complete descriptions of the absolute.
Then there's the argument about a prime mover and ultimate cause.
Basic logic, really. Motion needs a mover. Effects need causes.
Yeah.
You trace the chain back.
Rain comes from clouds, clouds from evaporation, evaporation from heat.
But that chain can't go back infinitely. It has to originate somewhere.
With the ever-living, the all-powerful, who is self-dependent, and the ultimate cause.
Yes. And this ultimate cause, this universal reality, isn't something we can sense or see because it's not limited or circumscribed. It embraces everything.
He uses that analogy of the tiny organism in the fruit again, unable to grasp the garden or the gardener.
It's a constant reminder of our limited perspective within the vastness of creation. A reflecting person, he suggests, would see the order and realize it couldn't just happen by itself.
He also points to other unseen forces we accept, like air or electricity, known by their effects.
And our own inner faculties, thought, memory, imagination, are unseen forces within us, proven by their manifestations.
It builds a case for believing in realities beyond direct sight.
And that powerful idea, limitation proves the unlimited.
How does that work again?
Well, we only understand weakness because we conceive of power. Ignorance implies knowledge. Poverty implies wealth. Darkness implies light. The existence of the limited points to the reality of the unlimited.
That's a profound thought.
He then circles back to defining nature as this interconnected system of properties and relations.
Emphasizing the harmony, how everything seems essential to everything else.
Which, again, necessitates that unifying power to connect it all. And he brings back the body analogy, the unseen mind directing the parts.
Even if the unifying force is unseen, its effects, the order, the cooperation, are undeniable.
And therefore, the universe, with its infinite parts, must also be directed by a universal reality to function in an orderly way.
Interaction and cooperation are everywhere, he says.
From the smallest particles to the largest structures. And these interactions all seem connected, pivoting around some central, all-embracing power.
Like the body's parts all working together under the direction of the spirit or mind.
Or like a complex machine where all the parts interact because they're linked to a central motor or a guiding intelligence.
So all the interactions in the universe point to an originating, motivating power.
That's the argument, that power is the source, the driver, the pivot for everything.
He also distinguishes between accidental arrangements and orderly ones.
Right. Random jumbles happen by chance. But perfectly ordered, regular, related compositions imply will and knowledge behind them.
And the universe, with its infinite variety, arranged in countless complex forms.
Must have come from a reality possessing will and understanding, and all-embracing wisdom. He says this is undeniable unless one is just being obstinate.
It's a powerful argument from design and order.
Then he clarifies the relationship between mind and soul again. Are they the same thing?
No, he says faculties like imagination and thought are properties of the soul, like the rays from the sun.
He uses that metaphor of the human body being a mirror, the soul, the sun, and mental faculties, the reflected rays. The rays depend on the sun, but they aren't the sun itself.
You can block the rays, but the sun is still there.
Exactly.
And he makes an interesting comparison. The human world is supernatural compared to the vegetable kingdom.
Yeah, a plant can't comprehend human senses like sight or hearing. It's beyond its reality.
And he draws a parallel. Maybe we can't comprehend the divine essence or the hereafter for similar reasons. It's beyond our current reality.
But, he stresses, the outpourings of divine grace are accessible. That's what we should focus on, benefiting from God's grace, not trying to grasp the essence itself.
Understanding our limits. And again, reminding us that the divine attributes we talk about are inferred from creation, not from knowing God's core reality.
Our understanding is based on the grace revealed in things, not a full grasp of God's ultimate will.
So, after laying all this groundwork about reality, soul, God, the letter then brings in Bahá'u'llah's teachings.
Yes, specifically the social principles, which he says were revealed 50 years earlier and are comprehensive.
He makes a strong claim that human progress is impossible without these teachings now.
And that every group, every community, will find its highest hopes reflected in them, like a tree bearing the best fruit for everyone.
He gives examples.
Yes. Philosophers will find solutions to social problems and profound philosophical insights. People of faith will find the essence of religion and the remedy for humanity's problems.
Even economists and workers find their aspirations met in Baha'i economic principles.
His point is that these teachings are universal in their scope and benefit. All different sections of society will find what they're looking for.
And he predicts that as people hear these teachings, they'll recognize their power, their necessity. They'll see them as the truth needed for today's world.
It's presented as the immediate remedy for society's ills.
Wow. And the conclusion of the letter.
He basically says the letter itself, its content, is evidence. He urges Dr. Forel, and by extension, us to really ponder it.
And he contrasts the power of worldly rulers or even philosophers with the power of the Holy Spirit in God's messengers.
Their influence might be great for a time, but it's limited, temporary.
Whereas the power of divine inspiration, seen in the prophets.
That power transforms individuals, regenerates whole nations, influences civilizations for millennia. It's a different order of power altogether.
And that enduring, transformative power is presented as the ultimate proof of the truth of the prophets and the reality of divine inspiration.
A conclusive evidence, he calls it.
That's a lot to take in. A really dense and profound letter.
It absolutely is. So for you listening, we really hope you'll take some time to mull over these ideas we've unpacked.
Yeah, the nature of your own soul, the power and limits of your mind, the evidences for God, the potential in Baha'u'llah's teachings. Lots to reflect on.
And if this has piqued your interest, definitely try to read the full tablet to Dr. Forel, and maybe explore other writings by Abdu'l-Bahá too. There's so much more there.
Absolutely. And as we think about future deep dives, we could explore other key Baha'i texts.
We'd love to hear from you if there are particular writings or themes you'd be interested in exploring together. Your input really helps shape these conversations.
Definitely. We hope this discussion has given you some valuable things to think about, maybe sparked some new questions or insights.
It's been fascinating to explore it again.
Until next time then, may the glory of glories rest upon you.